I bet you already know that in English we have letters that are considered vowels and others that are considered consonants. But do you know what the actual difference between a vowel and a consonant is? And even more importantly, why are vowels usually harder for children learning to read and even for adults learning English as a second language? And what can we do about it? Let's find out in today's video. Okay, so let's start with the basics. In English, we have 5 main vowels: A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes the letter Y is considered a vowel too. For instance, in the word gym, the letter Y is considered a vowel, and it's the same in the word candy. For instance, the letter Y is considered a vowel in this word too. Then we have all the other letters, B, C, D, F, G, and so on and so forth, which are consonants. So what's the difference, right? Well, the difference is that a vowel sound is made with an open mouth and unrestricted airflow. Nothing blocks the air that is coming out of our mouth. On the other hand, a consonant sound has some kind of blockage or restriction. This restriction can be made by the lips, the teeth, or the tongue getting in the way. And depending on how and where that restriction is coming from, we classify consonant sounds. But I don't want to get so technical in today's video that I end up confusing you. However, I want to give you a couple of examples of how that blockage is produced by different parts of our vocal system in consonant sounds. For example, in the letter P sound P, the restriction of the air comes from our lips. P. In the letter T sound T, the tip of our tongue is touching the alveolar ridge. That's how the area behind the front teeth is called. And then we release a quick sound. T. In the letter S, sound S. We place the tip of our tongue just behind our front teeth, close to the alveolar ridge we talked about before. We keep our teeth together and we push the air through. S. Okay, so that's the big difference. Open airflow versus restricted airflow. And this is exactly why vowels behave so differently and why many children struggle with them when learning to read. But why exactly? Why does this difference make things more complicated, I hear you saying? Okay, let's get into that right now. Let's see 3 common problems with vowel sounds before I go through 7 solutions at the end of the video. But don't skip to the solutions right away, okay? I still recommend you listen to the problems so you can better understand the solutions. Okay, problem number 1, the airflow isn't restricted. Since vowels don't stop or restrict the airflow, they're less distinct. It's harder to tell them apart. And in fact, how can we tell them apart, right? Well, we can tell them apart because we change our mouth shape, okay? For instance, with the ah sound, our mouth is wide open and the tongue is flat. Ah. However, when we say eh, while our mouth is still open, we close it a bit more and we position our tongue closer to the roof of the mouth. Eh. These are, by the way, over here, some helpful posters with the different mouth positions for vowel sounds, and I will leave you a link to download them for free in the video description. Problem number 2, some vowel sounds sound very similar. So I want you to take a look at this. So we have the E and I. So E, I. The short I sound as in sit and the short E sound as in set. They are super close. The tongue is just a tiny bit higher for I than for E, and our lips kind of make a slight smile in I, E. In fact, these 2 sounds are so similar that they are pronounced exactly the same in some regions of America, but only sometimes. We'll talk about that later on when we go through problem number 3. So problem number 3, nasalization and glut sounds. Another tricky part is that some vowels change slightly depending on what comes after them, especially when they are followed by a nasal sound like or n. Listen, am, as in I am Laura. Can, as in I can speak Spanish. Or Pam, as in her name is Pam. Have you noticed the distortion? Have you noticed how the short A sound changes a little bit here, or well, more than a little bit. The short A sound gets pulled toward the nasal position of the sound that follows, and it changes. This phenomenon even has a name, glut sounds, because, well, yes, it sounds like if these two sounds were sticking together, like glue, right? I hope this makes sense. This is a very subtle distortion to an untrained ear. Most adults won't notice it until they are told it exists. After that, they can't help but notice it all the time. But some kids notice it straight away, and it can be very confusing when learning to read. Okay, moving on. Remember how I said before that the sound I as in pin and E as in pen are very, very close? Well, sometimes in some regions they are even pronounced exactly the same. Some American English speakers pronounce the words pin and pen exactly the same. This is called a pin-pair merger. It happens again when any of these two short vowel sounds, I or E, come right before a nasal sound like or That is why pen may sound like pin, but pet and pit still sound different in those particular regions. This kind of vowel shift is natural in those regions. I'm not saying this is wrong, but what I'm saying is that it can confuse children who are learning to read, making vowels really tricky. Okay, so what can we do about all of these vowel challenges? Okay, here are some strategies. Number one, start with the easiest vowels first. Teaching vowels in the traditional A, E, I, O, U order is not always the best idea. My suggestion would be to start with the easiest ones first. And what are those? You may be wondering. Well, I'm glad you asked. According to research, A as in apple, A as in octopus, and A as in umbrella. By the way, quick note here for English learners. If you teach English learners or you are an English learner yourself, A as in apple and A as in umbrella may also be tricky, okay? Some English learners confuse these two sounds. They sound very similar to them too, but anyway, story for another day. Moving on to strategy number two, don't teach similar vowels too close together. Well, I'm referring to I and E. I don't think it's a good idea to teach them too close together. Spacing them out helps prevent confusion. Give kids time to master one before introducing the other. Strategy number three, use hand gestures for each vowel. This gives children a movement anchor for each sound. For instance, this is a hand gesture I teach for the letter A in my upcoming course on foundational early reading skills. Your mouth, and then you're going to open your mouth as if you were about to eat it and say, apple. You may even want to use a real apple for this. Apple. More information about the course in the video description, and I'll also leave you a link to another video in the channel where I share with you the hand gestures for vowels, and I talk in further detail about them. Is actually this one over here, but I still encourage you to watch this entire video first. Strategy number four, use embedded mnemonic flashcards. These are the type of flashcards I'm talking about, and these help children enormously. This specific set is called Phonics Pals Alphabet Cards, and it's only $7.99 at the time of recording. I will leave you a link in the video description if you want to check it out. Embedded mnemonics is a very powerful tool for learning the vowel sounds and to learn letter sounds in general. If you want to know more, I have at least one video in the channel about embedded mnemonics, so I will leave you links down in the video. Strategy number five, focus on mouth formation. Use visuals like the free vowel formation posters I've linked in the description and that I've shown you before. They help kids understand what their mouth should do, not just what the letter says. You may also want to use a handheld mirror so children can look at their mouth as they are saying the different sounds. It's very effective, plus it's also likely to be a hit with your kids or students. Strategy number six, explain glut sounds or nasalization of sounds only when and if they come up. If your child notices the glut sounds phenomenon and it's confusing her or him, go ahead and explain it. Or if you live in a region with a pin-pair merger. However, my personal opinion here is wait for your kid to notice. Some kids don't notice the distortion because actually in some regions and for some English speakers, it's actually really subtle. So I'm not a big fan of overcomplicating things for the sake of it. It's already hard enough. However, if this is confusing your kid, then yes, by all means, go ahead and explain glued sounds, nasalization of sounds, etc. Strategy number 7, use a bone conduction headset device for clear auditory feedback. Okay, this is the one. I've spoken about this set before. It's a bone conduction headset. You turn it on like this here with a small microphone and you wear it like this. So for kids, especially for those who struggle with speech or sound discrimination, this can be a very powerful tool to add to your repertoire. It helps them hear tricky sounds more clearly, including vowels, and supports phonological awareness, which is a foundational skill for reading. I have an entire video here on YouTube and an article on the Learning Reading Hub website talking about this device in great detail. So that's all I'm going to say about this device today. If you want to learn more, I leave you links to both the article and the video in the description. I'll also make sure, by the way, to leave you a discount code. They kindly allowed me to share with my audience for this device. So in today's video, I've gone through the short vowel sounds only, okay? The ones we always start with when teaching early readers. But remember, English also has long vowel sounds. That is when the vowel says its name, like make or pit or bike or home. Vowel teams, this is when two vowels team up or work together to represent one sound, like double E in meat or double O in moon. Diphthongs, these are complex vowel sounds that glide from one position to another, like oi in boil or ow in cow. And R-controlled vowels. This is when a vowel is followed by an R. The sound of the vowel changes, is distorted a little, and we say it's controlled by the R, like in car or anyway, bird. All of that comes later, definitely not where we start with beginning readers. I always recommend starting with short vowels only and only one sound per letter. Once children master those, you can build from there. Okay, I hope you liked this video. Remember, I left you freebies in the video description, like the vowel formation posters we saw. If you want more tips like these, especially for teaching pre-reading skills at home, make sure to check out the course link below too. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.